All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. So here's the album they don't want you listening to by Chicago. It's like 30 years ago. They put this album out. It flopped. It wound up in a cutout bin really quickly, which means they actually either drill a hole in it or they cut out on the bottom. And it's almost like writing off the album. Like, we're just going to write this product off, put it in a bin. Someone will buy it for like 99 cents or $1.99 and good riddance, right? Doesn't even count as a sale, I don't think, at that point. I don't know how they work through that. But this album came out at a time when the music business was changing and was basically trying to be a really good follow-up to Chicago 19. And it ends up being a great follow-up to 19 if you actually listen to it from start to finish, rather than reading what critics wrote about it, because the critics were way off. They're going on like album sales, on the fact that the band was relying very heavily on outside songwriters. Even old-timer Robert Lamb was very frustrated after the single Chasing the Wind, I think, stalled at number 39 on the charts. And that was disappointing, considering that the song, if you listen to it, is a great follow-up to the number one track, Look Away, which was the band's fastest charting number one song. Now, there are other factors as to why this didn't work. There were two versions of this album that were slated to be released. The Ron Nevison version, with the much crunchier drums and much more vibrant keyboard sounds, and the Humberto Gatica version, which is this one, which has actually a different track listing than the Nevison version that didn't get released. The Gatica version gets released. The drum tracks that Nevison wanted on this record were buried, and they weren't on here. So that was a big deal for Ron Nevison. I actually had a conversation a long time ago with him, I believe on Facebook, about what happened with Chicago 19, how disappointed he was when the finished product got to the store shelves. He was not happy with it, although the material on this record, despite what Robert Lamb says, was stellar. In fact, Robert Lamb, who had been kind of in a songwriting slump, puts out a couple of really strong songs on this record. One from the Heart and Only Time Can Heal the Wounded. Those two songs are really Robert Lamb's two best songs in that era, other than maybe We Can Stop the Hurtin' from Chicago 17, which actually got a little bit of album rock airplay. This album, though, the timing of it, the album cover. Let's talk about the album cover. The famous Chicago logo is basically buried behind this whole 21 thing that the graphic arts department at Warner Brothers or Reprise or Full Moon or whatever it is thought would be a good idea. Nope. Get that Chicago logo out there front and center and design the whole Chicago 21 thing behind it. The band had given up on the whole Roman numerals thing after Chicago 14, maybe because 14 was so bad, or maybe they thought people in the 80s couldn't figure out Roman numerals. I don't know, but they ditched that. And obviously you got the fun colors, like the 80s colors with the red and the blue, and the back is kind of the same, but it's, kind of the opposite, where the one is red. So anyway, I don't think that was wise. Album covers do matter, and production does matter. And the Nevison version of this album had a song that Jason Scheff had written and is still just one of my favorite Chicago songs of all time, even though it was never officially released. It's called Secrets of the Heart, and it was supposed to come out on the Ron Nevison version of the album, which would have a different, track listing and order of tracks as well. Now, as far as radio was concerned, my guess is that Warner Brothers, for whatever reason, didn't feel they were obligated to really go out there and promote Chicago 21. The band seemed a little bit disinterested in it too. There were rumors that there weren't enough members present during the recording of the album, which is bizarre. They do use a lot of outside folks on this record. Michael Landau, for instance, playing guitar, even though they had this beast by the name of Dwayne Bailey at the time, who, other than Terry Kath and maybe Keith Howland, I don't know, I would put Dwayne Bailey really close, believe it or not, to Terry Kath as far as his impact on this band during the 80s and early 90s and into the mid 90s, really. Just an amazing guitarist, and his style fit perfectly with the rock and top 40 of the time. This album had material, by the way, that should have gotten onto rock stations, especially if they had used the Nevison version of the album. They could have shopped some of these songs over to rock radio, like Who Do You Love, a song written by Bill Champlin. And the Nevison version of it is just a blast of guitar and horns. And here's the good thing: if you're a fan of the horns and you didn't like Chicago 19, the horns make a big comeback on Chicago 21. They're everywhere throughout the album. You can't really get away from, the horn section or even a nice horn solo. On You Come to My Senses, which was the follow-up single to Chasing the Wind, you've got a really great horn solo on there, which is just vintage Chicago. So if you're a fan of the more traditional Chicago sound, you get that, but you also get the modern sound kind of mashed together. And really, this thing, you can find this for like a couple of bucks. It's everywhere. It's laying in CD bins all over the place. They did upload the version that I've got here to YouTube and to other platforms to listen to, and they did remaster it. So good on them for at least acknowledging that the album is in their catalog. I wish they would do a 30th anniversary of this and put out the Nevison mixes along with the Gattaca mixes and make it a nice 2-album package. And maybe there are some outtakes, because guess what? The Jason Scheff song, I think, would be a #1 song if it was promoted the right way. Secrets of the Heart, just a beautiful song. And Jason, such a pro. And yes, you can go listen to that online because it is on YouTube. And I think that's probably the only place you're going to be able to find it or hear it. The Nevison album was never officially released. So there you have it. An album the industry didn't want you listening to then. Certainly they don't care about it now. You could probably play Chasing the Wind on a few radio stations, and I'm sure you wouldn't ruffle any feathers. But, we're in one of those places now where the industry is just paring their playlist down. To add something off of this would be probably criminal and sacrilegious and take time away from public service announcements. So just my opinion, though. Who knows? I could be wrong. Chicago 21, I would definitely check it out.